tell you, the story we're about to go into, it's a really tough one. It's about a single, unthinkable moment of violence and the long, painful fight for justice that followed. And at the very heart of it all is one single devastating fact. A child's life just completely shattered in an instant.
So how does a nightmare like this even begin? Well, it starts on a day that should have been totally ordinary, a day just like any other, except for the storm that was rolling in.
So, picture this. A young girl is walking during a downpour, and that's when she's attacked. But afterward, even though she was severely injured, barely even conscious, she did something absolutely incredible. She somehow found just enough strength to reach for her phone and call for help. And that call, it did bring help. But it also marked the beginning of a whole new, permanent reality for her and her family. You see, the crime itself, it was over in just a few moments. But the consequences, those were going to last a lifetime. And how old was this little girl? She was 8. Just 8 years old. So when her parents rushed to the hospital, the doctor has to give them the kind of news that, well, no parent should ever have to hear. The diagnosis was just shattering. The doctor said her intestines have ruptured. She will live with a colostomy bag for the rest of her life, and she can never become a mother.
For her mom, hearing this, it just brought on this overwhelming wave of guilt. You can just imagine, right? She couldn't stop replaying it in her head, thinking, if only I hadn't let her go to school by herself today.
But honestly, the most heart-wrenching moment of all, it came later, when the little girl finally regained consciousness. She looked up at her father and asked this simple, innocent question. She asked, "Papa, what was my mistake?" I mean, what do you even say to that? There's no answer for a question like that. So as the family is just reeling from this unbelievable tragedy, the focus has to shift. It shifts to finding the person responsible. But as they'd soon find out, that path to justice, it was filled with its own kind of pain. Okay, so the police have a suspect, but the next step is absolutely crucial. They need an ID. They need the little girl to identify her attacker. But can you imagine being her mother? She was terrified of making her daughter relive that trauma. I mean, how could you ask your child to look at the face of that monster? But the law required it. So they finally showed the girl a photo of the suspect. And what happened next? She didn't have to say a single word. She just closed her eyes. And in that silence, everyone in the room knew they had their man. So the arrest is made. You'd think that would be some sort of relief, right? But this story was far from over. What came next was a confrontation that revealed the truly chilling, bone-deep evil this family was up against. While this man was in custody, the girl's father, he went to confront him. He had to. He needed to look into the eyes of the person who had completely destroyed his daughter's life. And what he found, it wasn't remorse. It wasn't shame. Not at all. It was just a threat. The attacker looked right at this grieving father and said, "Make a deal with me. If you don't, I will come out, and I will not spare that girl." So this is the horrifying reality this family is left with. An attacker who feels absolutely no remorse, a life sentence of pain for their little girl, and a legal system that just feels totally inadequate. It really leaves us all with a profound and deeply unsettling question, doesn't it? When the justice of the law just isn't enough, what is left?